Okay, so this is a video. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the destruction of the physical is the construction of the spiritual. So I'm going to say the truth, even though it's very not nice to hear. They say there's a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. So there are only two types of people. There are those that think and those that don't. Those that don't are run mainly by emotions, by fads, by herd mentality. And those that think are usually right, but their voices, as my voice, are soft. Because to be intelligent you have to have a mind, and your mind has to be basically more dominant than your emotions. And then your truth is not necessarily heard, because the truth that is heard is kind of the people that have big egos and shout loudly, and others that are small-minded. They think that they are cool, they represent something, and they follow them, as my latest video, off the cliff like a herd to their own deaths. So we now have 5,781 years of human history and civilization to look back on. And as Professor Harari writes in one of his magnum opuses, I forget the name of the book, but basically it's a look at civilization. So all civilization, the empires, they all collapse. And the reason they collapse is because the people in them become stupid. To build something, you have to be smart. And really, what is smart? We're all both capable of being smart and stupid. But to be smart, you have to use your head. And to be stupid, you have to not. And the thing is that each and every one of us has this challenge between our emotions, which basically say, give me this instinctual benefit because it will feel good now, and our fears, which say stay away from that because for now that makes me afraid. And we basically live life, or we develop courage. And this is the very, very interesting thing about life, is that courage really comes from suffering. So it's the suffering that creates the courage, that creates the focus to build, and it's the lack of suffering which creates the lack of courage, which is like, I'm just going to do whatever is easy for me now. And it's subconscious, not even a conscious thing. The people that buy into these crazy ideas, they don't want to make themselves anxious. It doesn't feel good to be anxious. So it's only somebody that already is anxious or has overcome anxiety but knows how to focus and get things done. Very few, the way I see it, very few men, you can really call them success cases. You know, most of them they're just following the herd, what their society tells them to do. And so as long as that society functions with good laws, then they have a chance. But once that society becomes overtaken, as our current America is overtaken by radicals who want to destroy wealth, who basically want to destroy morality, which is the bedrock of life itself, based on a book, How Civilizations Die, very well researched book. Basically, the left is going to die within 100 years because they're not even having the children to replace themselves. The only ideology that's going to live in any event is evangelical Christians and Orthodox Jews. For example, there are a lot of secular Jews that like to pontificate and say, oh, Judaism is this. Actually, in 100 years, there won't be a secular Jew alive. They're all going to, as the large Pew poll shows, they're all just going to dissipate. Maybe there'll be some that will leave the faith, but the 99% are going to be religious Jews, because those are the ones that are having the children, keeping the tradition. That's how it goes. So the fact of the matter is that you can, just from that itself, see one group has sanity. It's going to perpetuate itself. The other group is not thinking, because death and annihilation and self-destruction is the greatest stupidity that exists. So I want to conclude with what this whole reality is really about. So ultimately it boils down to a personal relationship with God, which in a certain sense boils down to a relationship with yourself, because we all have, as we said, the mind and the emotions. Each one of us is a microcosm of the macro reality. And if you actually, because it's like the DNA, if you can fix one DNA perfectly, the whole body will be fixed. So if you can really fix your own self to understand that there is this war between the mind, intelligence, and emotions, which is, I just want it because this is how I feel. And if you can win that war and let your mind and your truth dominate you, you can create, because this is how it works spiritually, and we know this from quantum physics as well, you create a ripple effect, and your consciousness and your way of life spreads through this universe and all the spiritual universes above us. It goes to God and comes back down, and in that way, just you yourself can literally bring the complete redemption of the world. And seeing that the society is going to fall apart, it's just up to each and every one of us to have the courage and the wisdom to say, this is crunch time. If I do this, basically miraculously the Mashiach will come, everything will be okay.